I've heard it so many times that people these days don't know how to be loyal with their employers. They complain, we spend all this money training them, organizing events and workshops for them, giving them a neat workstation so they can do their jobs properly, but they don't think twice before going to some other company. I've seen business owners and recruiters blatantly blaming millennials for their lack of loyalty and stereotyping them as lazy, entitled, and constantly comparing them with workers in 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now, you gotta understand, back in the day, people had very limited options. They had no choice but to stick with the same employers and same companies. Those were the times when only few people ventured into the field of entrepreneurships, and because of that, workers and employees had very fewer opportunities. People valued job security over job satisfaction. We all have heard stories how people stayed in the same job, lived in the same house and the same neighborhood, and had the same friends for 25 years, 30 years, 35 years, basically for their entire lifetime. Now, before you go out and make millennials the scapegoat for all the problems, few things you need to understand. First and foremost, this is 2020. Employees of this generation have more options than you can possibly imagine. So instead of blaming them for all the problems in the world, pay close attention to what's happening around you. It's been 73 years since India got the independence, more than 75 years since the end of World War II, and almost 90 years since the end of Great Depression. We now have mobile phones, airplanes, electricity in almost all the households. But most importantly, we now have the internet. We don't have children dying from diarrhea, typhoid, and cholera. And that means that the majority of the population on this planet are not living the life hand to mouth. When India got the independence in 1947, we had 12% literacy rate. That means out of 360 million people, 316 million people could not read and write. Almost everyone started at the bottom with nothing in their bank account. I remember my grandfather telling me how he had to drop out of school at the age of 12 and start working so he could feed his family. The game was completely different then. People around that time were a little rough around the edges due to all the hardships they had to go through due to extremely volatile global political scenarios. During the time, you wouldn't care how your employers would treat you. All you would care about is your basic wage and job security, because they had so many people relying on them financially. They had so many mouths to feed. A lot of people around that time chose work over education, and they had their fair reasons for choosing that. Now, don't take me literally, but back in the day, an employer could get away with a murder. Workers had very little options. So yes, employees back in the day had no choice but to stay with the same company, same employers for 30, 35 years. It has got nothing to do with that loyalty per se. The time is different now. People now have more options than we can possibly imagine. So now the pressure is on you as a recruiter. If you want to retain your loyal and high-performing employees within your company, firstly, you need to pay a lot more closer attention to the current cultural dynamics. Sorry if I'm digressing a little bit from the topic, but now in this video, I want to share 3 ideas that you need to keep in mind while building an environment and culture where high performers feel secure enough to stay loyal with you for a longer period of time. So, number 1, you can't be scared of losing people. It is very important for you to understand that not everyone that you're going to hire is going to work out. You get them on your team, but whether it is a good hire or a bad one, you are only going to find that out over a period of time. Your job is to get the right people on the bus. And once you get them on the bus, you gotta put them on the right seats. And people who does not resonate with your system and culture are either going to filter themselves out, or you are going to have to filter them out. In this process of weeding out the weak ones, you might even lose few of your high performers and mid-level performers. Basically your A and B players. But that's the price you are going to have to pay to build that dream team. The more you hang on to the wrong people, the longer it will take to build a team that you desire, a team that wants to award for you, a team of high performers who are highly skilled, have greater work ethics, with greater value system, and thus showcase more loyalty towards you and your company. Just remember this, we are not trying to build a company and a business around one or two people. So if someone in your team feels that they don't fit right into your culture, you cannot act all desperate and bend your own value system just to accommodate them. You have to set them free, and for that purpose only, you cannot be scared of losing some of them in the process. Number two is they need to see you in the game. It doesn't matter that you have the biggest office in the building. It doesn't matter that you got the most expensive car or you got the fanciest nameplate on the door. The moment you ask your team to do something, you haven't done it yourself, you lose your influence over them. For example, if you're constantly putting the pressure on your team to produce more leads, more sales, but then they don't see you in the grind, they don't see you in the trenches with them every day, you lose their respect, you lose your influence over them almost immediately. Yes, you'll still be able to retain your bottom and mid-level performers. They don't mind if you sit in your office all day watching Netflix as long as they are getting paid. As a matter of fact, they don't even prefer to see you that often because they don't want you to find out about their poor performance. They just won't work hard enough to make it look like that they are trying. They say all the things that you want to listen to. But your A players and the top performers don't like to follow an incapable leader. They want to see you in the grind with them. You can never ever talk about work ethics in front of your guys, in front of your top performers, if you are the ones who show up for work late, if you are the ones who's constantly rescheduling the meetings. High performers don't only work for the paycheck. They already have greater levels of work ethics. They already have higher standards and demand more out of themselves and people around them. So when they see their managers and bosses taking it easy five days a week, that behavior doesn't go well with them. That behavior doesn't align with their value system. And then it doesn't matter what kind of money you put on the table, what kind of money you offer them, they have to leave you for something better, someone with higher standards. Number three, don't ever take credit for their ideas and hard work. The most annoying thing in the world is when you see someone taking a credit for your ideas, someone taking credit for all your hard work. When you do this, you are starting things off on the right foot with your top performers, your higher performers. The feeling of doing all the work yourself and seeing someone else getting the price for it is not a very good feeling. I know this because I've been through this myself. I was just starting out, I was around 22, 23 years of age. I was very introverted, so never spoke much in team meetings, but I knew my job. I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I was the hardest working person in the team. I took a lot of pride in my job. Always the first one to show up and always put in the more work than anyone else. One day I came up with this perfect closing dialogue. This perfect closing script that helped me close some of the toughest clients. So I decided to pass it on to my manager to get his approval so others in the team can also benefit from this as well. And he did approve the script and the dialogue. And we decided to roll that out on the floor for everyone else to use it. But later I found out that the guy took the entire credit for the scripts and the dialogues that I came up with in front of our regional manager. I didn't walk into his office and made a big fuss about it, but I was shocked and felt cheated. And there was the moment he lost my trust, he lost my loyalty. And within 3 months of that incident, I was with another company where I stayed for 7 years. So if you want to retain your top performers, never ever take credit for someone else's hard work. As a matter of fact, great leaders are quick to give the credit, even quicker to take the blame. It says a lot about your company's value system and culture, and that's my time.